Hello everyone, Dave Landry here from DaveLandry.com, and this is Trading Simplified. So what are we talking about? Well, the methodology in action, I have a lot to say about that. I've got a couple of mystery charts I want to show you. I want to follow up on a mystery chart or two. I want to continue my discussion on inefficient markets, and inefficient markets are an absolute trader's dream. And then I want to talk about being in the right place at the right time, and I think we might be in that right place, and I'm really excited about that. Housekeeping, I do take requests. You tried to say if there's something you want me to cover, let me know. It makes my job a lot easier knowing what I'm going to cover ahead of time. If it doesn't fit into this venue, I do a chart every week, DaveLandry.com/webinar chart show, that is, every week, DaveLandry.com/webinar. You get to attend live, ask questions live, bring your favorite stock picks. We can talk about crypto, whatever you want to talk about. Just come to the show live, and I'll be glad to have you there. If you need to reach me, DaveLandry.com/contact. Also, if you want the slides from this presentation and all my other presentations combined, you go to DaveLandry.com/StockCharts. And in addition to that, I'll give you enough stuff to keep you busy for a long, long time. A market timing course. Oh, geez. All three of my books in PDF format, limited access to the members area, and a bunch of other stuff. Get to know me first. All right, let's talk about the mystery charts and the methodology in action. We have a little reveal here. This was a mystery chart about a week ago. Nice thrust higher. It's an IPO. Big fan of IPOs right now. Had a nice little TKO type of move. That's actually one bar over. And then what happened? Well, nothing. The stock began to implode, so we passed. No capital was put into harm's way. It amazes me how many times waiting for an entry can keep you out of trouble. Now, here's a former mystery chart, CFLT. Nice little pullback, nice thrust higher. You guessed it, it's also an IPO. Entry here, stop down here, initial profit target here. And it kind of meandered back and forth until finally, just a few minutes ago, tagged that initial profit target. So when that happens, we bring that stop up all the way up to break even. So the worst thing that can happen, barring overnight gaps, is to scratch out on the chart. Now, this is one of those stocks that's been a little frustrating for my clients. We talked about YMM last week and I believe week before. And then prior to that, we talked about MTTR. Go in and watch the prior shows if you can't sleep at night, and you'll see the discussion on those, and nothing really changes. And we all feel the same way. I was going to say nothing changed with human nature, but, this one frustrated me too. But as I told one client with the YMM, and again, go in and see last week's show, if it stops out, it's no longer a problem. And as long as it stays above the stop, it's not a problem. And as I say ad nauseum, in my trading service, it's a little easier for me to follow the plan. I'll see a stock going against me, I'll drop an F-bomb, and then I'll look at the spreadsheet and it's like, well, geez, Dave, you got another 3 or 4 points before it hits the stop. You just have to grin and bear it, and you get stopped out, so be it. And it's made my life a lot easier in following my own plan by having that trading service. Now, I do take quite a few stocks outside of the trading service, and those are usually listed in the Landry list. PTLO would be a good recent example. Brothers, BROS, we talk about that one a lot, another example there. And with those type of stocks, it's a little bit more difficult because a lot of times I won't formulate that complete plan, truth be told. I'll just be so busy doing other things. But in my service, which I'm forced to publish a complete plan every night, all I have to do, I know easier said than done, but all I have to do is follow that plan. Now, the cool thing about this one is the stop is now to break even, so as long as it stays above break even, it's not a problem. Now, one thing that's kind of interesting in Curtis Faith's book, I think it's called The Way of the Turtle. If you go to davelandry.com/books-2-read, you'll get a list of those books that I would recommend you read. And anyway, in his book, I like the way he talked about the fact that Dennis wasn't really too worried about giving up open profits, especially as a trend follower, because that's part of the game. And I've tried, at least, to feel that way and kind of close my eyes a little bit, as long as I'm not stopped out, of course. and just let things unfold. And as I've showed you countless times, especially in this presentation and also in my weekend charts, a lot of times you have to be willing to give up some of those open profits in order to capture some of these huge longer-term gains, like, for instance, CPE, which was up 500%, and some of those in the open portfolio, such as ASO. All you have to do, which is always easier said than done, is just sit back, relax, and follow that plan. So here we have a new mystery chart, and I don't know if you heard it or not, but I just got a ding on this one, so I can go ahead and reveal it. It just triggered a few minutes ago. CNTX, this is an IPO, nice thrust higher. First deep retracement is what I call that pattern. When an IPO comes public, takes off, has a deep retracement, and then hopefully, and I know you should never use that word hopefully in this business, takes off again, but there was your entry right there, stop down here, initial profit target up here. CNTX is that one. Here's our other pick for today. Nice thrust higher. Notice it made a kind of a micro double top, and then it formed a TKO. This is a pattern I call the double top knockout. Also kind of pulled back a little bit further in here. So entries here, stops down here, initial profit target is up here. This one has not triggered yet, and maybe it'll trigger, and we'll reveal that one next week. All right, let's talk about where the money is. And I've been talking a lot about inefficiencies lately, and right now I think we have a golden opportunity in the cryptocurrencies and also in the IPOs. As I said a minute ago, we've been doing really well in IPOs lately. In fact, those two mystery charts are IPOs. So right now, the cryptocurrencies, especially the alt currencies, are on fire. Now, as I often say, efficiency is one of my favorite things when it comes to markets. And I was thinking a couple days ago when I was doing my morning pages, I wake up every day and I write 3 handwritten pages. And one of the things I was thinking about was a gentleman I met a while back who made $80 million in the options market. And all he did was recognize an inefficiency and was able to capitalize on that. Now, being in the right place at the right time does you absolutely no good unless you recognize and act. When I met this gentleman in person, I'm like, I'm very impressed with this $80 million you made. He's like, hang on there. Settle down, Beavis. He says, Dave, I couldn't do that again in these markets. And he's not a person that's holding himself out like some of these guys, these one-hit wonders, like he could do that again tomorrow. He was in the right place at the right time. But he recognized that he was in the right place at the right time, and he acted upon it. And options are a zero-sum game, so he pretty much took $80 million. Not everybody made a lot of money during that period of time, but he was able to make $80 million. Now, at some point in your lifetime, you're going to have a golden opportunity to print money, okay? In my lifetime, it's been 1999, the NASDAQ bubble, the dot-com bubble. The crypto has been amazing lately. Let's just see where that takes us. That's been a lot of fun. And there's been a lot of IPOs along the way and a few other markets that have been very, very inefficient, and they have been fantastic. Now, just in case I get hit with a beer truck, I really wanted to get this presentation out because at some point, again, in your lifetime, you're going to have a golden opportunity. And when that occurs, you must recognize that you are in the right place at the right time. You need to act upon what you are seeing because you are aware that this is a great time, but you also have to act upon it to make some money. You can't let it go to your head. And then, of course, all good things come to an end, so you're going to have a chair ready for when the music stops. So let's break this down. Now, when large, inefficient moves are happening, you have to recognize that they are happening and don't worry about the whys. As I often say, the whys, W-H-Y-S, will become wise. You'll become wise to that, W-I-S-E, later. And by the time you understand what happened it's going to be too late. The people who did not trade the NASDAQ stocks, the dot-com stocks, when they went up 400%, didn't make anything. They were too busy poo-pooing the market. Well, one way to know that you're in these inefficient and crazy markets is if a lot of so-called experts are poo-pooing the market. Now, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention this. This happened yesterday. And this is I got this off of Twitter. One of my clients sent it to me.
So the market cap is $2.168 trillion. And now
I can't stop watching this video. This was, I guess you call it a scam coin. This thing went from less than a penny to 3,000. And then it imploded. I know that everybody and their brother would say, well, what about that squid currency? All right, you got me on that one, right? Now, I didn't even know it was happening because I didn't know, it didn't come up on my radar anywhere. And it was one of those swap things that I really don't understand. I don't understand crypto, okay? But I really don't understand these swap things. But anyway, as I preach, money management will be key. And I'm going to break that down quite a bit. But, you know, I think things like this squid scam are going to add fodder to these so-called experts. And I think that's actually going to help, believe it or not, perpetuate things, he tried to say, down the road. And that's because trends tend to exist as long as people fight them. If everybody agrees, then all of a sudden the bubble is done, okay? And that's kind of a statement I've had a hard time wrapping my head around, but the longer I'm in this business, the more I'm beginning to understand it. And it's a little tougher nowadays to short crypto, but if you're looking at something like stocks or some other markets that are just as easy to go long as short, then you know that the people fighting it would be the people trying to short the market, and they're forced to cover higher and higher and higher. So that'd be a good example of that. Anyway, the other thing to know and to recognize when you are in one of these mother of all trends, one of these mother of all opportunities, the right place at the right time, is it seems too good to be true and you can't wait to wake up. I remember in '99, a lot of other traders felt the same way. You couldn't wait to wake up to see how much money you made overnight. And that's kind of how I am in crypto. And then, of course, you have to act. You have to approach the market in a conceptually correct fashion. That means that you're not trying to do some sort of arcane methodology or counting bars or waves or something like that, but instead buy markets that are going up or at least have some sort of pattern that you're trading, and definitely trade in the direction of the trend. And I can't beat the dead horse enough on this. You need to use a healthy dose of money and position management. Now, I don't know much about that squid scam, but I did notice somewhere that they made it hard to get out. And so far, knock on wood, I've been pretty lucky in everything I've traded in and out of so far. It seems like the liquidity has been there, and I'm able to get in and get out. So I think that's a anomaly, but buyer beware. It's the Wild Wild West right now with these altcoins, and I actually call them something else, which reminds me to be really, really, really careful in them. I have to keep this PG-13, so I can't say it. Now, be willing to say next often. Allow yourself to get stopped out. And I tried to show you all the trades I've been doing, but there were so many that I just get stopped out, and then bam, hit it out of the park. In fact, I think I just hit an initial profit target in one. Just got a little alert popped up in RLC. So the market is moving really, really, really fast. And that allows me to free roll. And free roll, as we talked about in prior weeks, is you get into a market sort of like that CFLT earlier, hopefully CNTX, not too soon, not too long from now. You get in, you get those partial profits out, your stop is to break even, and the worst that could happen to you, barring overnight gaps, is you scratch out on the remainder. And if things go well, you could trail a stop higher. Now, you can't let it go to your head, and I am guilty of this. I think we all are as traders. You can't get sloppy. You have to stay prudent, continue to follow your methodology, continue to be prudent with your money management. And again, money management, money management, money management. I cannot emphasize that enough. Now, you can press a little, okay, but don't stomp the pedal. Don't stomp on the gas, get over leveraged, or get in over your head, or as one of my clients often says, get in over your skis, or get over your skis. It's okay to press a little when things are going amazing, but don't bet the farm, okay? Make sure any given trade would not really have a huge impact on your lifestyle. In stocks, I usually risk 2% of my portfolio on each trade. In cryptos, I have a much smaller account, or much smaller accounts, I should say, and I'm not risking that much on any particular trade. Now, one thing that I often talk about is no one can predict the future. We're trend followers, right? But there is a secret sauce in that we can take partial profits if we're right. Again, I refer you back to the CFLT trade, which just happened a few minutes ago, the partial profit that is. And then we have a stop on the remainder. If we scratch out, so what? But if this thing continues to run, we're going to gradually loosen the stop and hopefully, I don't know, you should never use that word in this business, but hopefully ride a trend for a long, long time. Now, all good things come to an end. You better have a chair ready for when the music stops. I remember I was in Italy, might have been one of my first visits there. I was speaking at a conference, Italian Traders Forum, and the night before they had an awards banquet for all the money managers, and they had a half a dozen energy mutual fund money managers come up. And back then, energy, I think, ran to almost $100 a barrel or whatever it was. Oil was something ridiculous. And I was sitting next to John Bollinger. I looked over at John. I'm like, none of these guys are going to be here next year because they just happen to be in the right place at the right time. Now, they also happen to be running energy funds, and they were forced to buy energy stocks, and that's why they did well. So you can't fight that last war. And you know what? I'm not immune. In 2000, I was still trying to trade .com stocks as they were beginning to slide. And that's the hard part but it was working so well. You feel so good about everything, and then things begin to kind of come apart. So you need to make sure you have a chair ready for the music stops, and be ready to say so long and thanks for all the fish, and make sure you capture the lion's share of those profits. Of course, you're going to give up some in the end, okay? And you might be guilty of fighting that last war a little bit, but just recognize that, hey, maybe these things are coming to an end, and that could be whatever it is. I know I'm talking about crypto, but one thing I wanted to say today is it's not about the crypto. It's about recognizing market inefficiencies wherever that is, whether it's in IPOs, or whether it's in crypto, or as I talked a little bit about, I think last week or week before, if it's in a big stodgy stock that's efficient, that's poised to make an inefficient move. But again, be ready to say so long, and thanks for all the fish when the time comes. And here comes the dead horse beating money management, money management, money management. While I was putting together this presentation, I stumbled across this chart, and this is one that I bought here because it was going up. Now, one thing about these altcoins is I probably was sleeping right here. Not sure why I didn't get in a lot earlier, and I'll talk about a few patterns to get in just a few seconds. But I got in here, and then I was able to flip out half here for a little bit of a profit fairly quickly. And then I got stopped out on those, and then I got back in, and then I got stopped out on the remainder. So this whole thing ended up an exercise in futility, But the reason I want to show you, not to try to impress you with my exercise of futility, but to show you that this thing went straight up and went straight back down. And I think I made a tiny, tiny bit on the whole thing, but I didn't lose all of my money, like, as you can see, I would have, or certainly the lion's share of it, when the thing began to implode. So thank you, baby Jesus, for money management. 8-pound, 10-ounce baby Jesus. Now, along the lines of free rolling, here's one. This was a couple patterns here. One, it's rallying out of a pullback. Two, it was very strong on the relative strength list. We'll jump into the live charts in 1 second. I'll show you how I use relative strength to help me trade. It's not an indicator. It's just the strongest. I want to be in the strongest pairs. And luckily, in this case, the next day flipped out half at break even. And I'm trailing that stop higher and free rolling on this. And I hate to use the word hope, but hopefully I'll be in this one for a long, long time. Now, I was working on my slides on this for this presentation yesterday, and I hit the IPT on one. I got a buy signal. And then a few minutes later, I had a sell signal for half of them. I hit my limit. By the way, when I put in an order, I usually enter mostly on market orders, unless I'm entering on a pullback or something that stops above the market. And then I immediately put in an IPT to flip out half. And lately on a lot of these, I've been using 20% as a goal. And that's just because there's so many of them moving. There's not a lot of time to do a lot of math on these things. So I'll just put in 20%. And then I'll have a stop at a reasonable level, maybe like in a case like this, maybe around 70 cents or something, someplace where it looks like the position may have failed. Now, by the way, breakouts do tend to fail more often than not, and it's a very tough way to trade. But if you're in an inefficient market like the altcoins, it could be a great way to trade. And again, okay, so my stop was at 0.70. I just was kind of eyeballing that. Now, the other thing, just real quick, notice you've got one bar above the 30 EMA and then another bar above the 30 EMA. That's 2 bars of Landry light. The Landry light indicator is down here. This is the ACP platform. If you want this free plugin with these indicators in it, or as I call them, illustrators, all you have to do is like this video, and then you'll have access to it, and then click on this little plugin, and you can load it for absolutely free. So again, another one free rolling on. Now, here's one last night. This is the downside of crypto, and I talked about that in last week's Weekly Charts, so again, go in and watch that if you have time. But the downside is they trade 24/7, and so I came in last night, saw this one before bedtime, put in an order, put in an IPT, and the IPT was hit while I slept, and my stop is at break even, and I probably need to bump that stop up a little bit more on that one. But this is the secret to success. The secret sauce to trading success is the money management and, of course, being in the right place at the right time. So just real quick, inefficient markets, everything isn't priced in. The 500% move in something like SHIB over a few days. As I've said often and a few minutes ago, efficient markets can occasionally make inefficient moves. The transitional patterns are really good for that. Go in and watch the show I did on transitions probably about a year or so ago. And inefficient markets will become more efficient, so I would imagine that Bitcoin eventually will become a somewhat efficient market when the playing field becomes really, really crowded, when everybody's kind of buying and selling. You also have to consider overall market conditions, especially the stock market, of course. When the stock market's going straight up, then you know you are in a possible inefficient market. Right now, most IPOs are doing really well, so that's a great inefficient market right now. And then right now, there's an S-ton of greater fools out there, especially in the crypto. And you can poo-poo it and say it's all BS, or you could jump on board and just hope, and I know I should never say hope, but hope there's a lot of greater fools waiting in the wings, and I think there is. So again, crypto, especially the altcoins, and then IPOs. IPOs tend to wax and wane as far as being inefficient. And right now, though, they are very inefficient. I'm finding quite a few good-looking setups. So here's one we talked about last week, and I've been in this one for a while. And this is my ultimate goal. I'm flipping them in, flipping out, flipping in, flipping out. But the goal is to just keep chipping away at it and eventually catch a little move. Look right here. That's also, I didn't realize it at the time, but this is the 2 30 EMA system. 2 bars of Landry light, enter above the 2-bar high. That's pretty much the entire system. I know, it's pretty amazing. And something as simple as that, a simple system can work really well in an inefficient market. In fact, in IPOs, we're just buying new closing highs with quite a few caveats, but for the most part, that's what we're doing. So super inefficient move, not priced in to this market. Sheeb, I just mentioned, that move was not priced in. So far, so good there. Here's another one, Poke. Luckily, and I use the word luck because hopefully some skill involved, but luckily was able to flip out after 1 day of being in. So here's my free rolling list from last week. Remember I showed you this list. OMG is no longer on the list. It stopped out, and neither is AOA. And then here was a list when I was putting together my slides yesterday, but a couple of these actually stopped out. Elon, I actually just got out a little while ago. GME stopped out overnight, I believe. And then here are some that I put on today. I think I just showed that LRC a little while ago. Now, I wanted to show you something with the POLK trade that I noticed after the fact, but I bought on this breakout right there. And the reason was it was the strongest, or one of the strongest currencies at the time. Currency, I use that term loosely. And again, I was able to flip out the next day, as I think I said earlier. But if we zoom in on this 30 EMA, you'll notice something really, really cool. And we had bar 1 and bar 2 of Landry light, meaning lows are above the moving average. And when that happens, you can just simply look to get long above the high of those 2 bars. And by the way, this works on a fractal nature. It's not enough time in a day for me to do it all. There's so much going on right now. But I'd be willing to bet if you look for the strongest pairs and then look for like a 15 minutes, 230 EMA breakout like this, I think that you would do quite well. And you can put the stop down around the 30 EMA. You get stopped out, you get stopped out. Now, let's jump into the live charts real quick. So it's funny, every week I'm like, we're going to jump into the live charts. We're going to find a bunch of crypto to trade. And I ended up having so much to share with you guys that I just don't seem to have enough time to get into it. So I just want to show you real quick. All I'm doing is sorting by the strongest, and then I'm looking to be in the strongest of the pair. So OXT, that looks pretty darn good. LRC, as I just said, I am long this one at this particular point in time, and it hit the initial profit target. This one looks kind of interesting. I like to buy them when they're towards the top of their highs like this, but as you go through these on your own, do pay attention to the EMA and the 230 EMA system. Now this one's a little bit extreme, but you got bar 1, bar 2 of Landry light. Entry would be above this high plus a little wiggle room, so you probably would have got in around 250. I did get in that one overnight, and I ended up flipping out. It's kind of a long story, but I was not able to get enough off on it, and so I ended up flipping out in frustration this morning. Now here's one. Look at this nice little move here. Also bar 1, bar 2 of the 230 EMA. Nice little trigger earlier. So you can see that there are just a plethora of opportunities. This one's beginning to break out here. And it's just a wonderful time, I think, and it's a wonderful market to trade. Well, I'm way over time. If you guys have any follow-up questions, davelandry.com/contact. Again, if you want the slides from this presentation and all the other presentations that I've done, probably about 100 of them by now, maybe more, davelandry.com/StockCharts. I want to thank everyone for watching. If you have questions, you could also leave a comment down below if you're watching this on YouTube. I answer all comments, and I would welcome them. So everybody have a great day trading, and may the trend be with you. Thanks again for watching.
Hey guys, Dave Keller here with StockCharts.com. Thanks so much for watching our video. If you enjoyed it, and we hope you did, hit the like button right below. Also, we have so much new content every day. Consider subscribing to the channel. Just hit the subscribe button in the video or right below. Thanks for watching. Stay safe. Have a fantastic day.